Hey, welcome back. Doug Pagitt Radio on AM 950. It's December 4th, 12:33 on a beautiful day for the snow enthusiasts. Man, I mean, people are out of their minds. They're so thrilled. If you love snow in the Twin Cities, you are just loving it. Now, if you're listening in Southern California, where I know we have a large number of listeners, you're looking outside and you're like, same as it was the other day. And you're people that like sameness.
Mild and 65.
65. Hey, John Music and I have endeavored the last 10 days on a diet. I like to call it a fast. John prefers not to call it a fast. Some of our friends call it a feast. I like the phrase fast for the true meaning of the word F-A-S-T. Fast meaning to fasten to or to stay attached to. That's where the word comes up in religious terms, like you're on a religious fast. Can you hold to something? Can you stick with it? Can you stay attached to this commitment that you've made?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean going without. It means can you stay committed to? Can you fast? Fasten it. So I like that because we've chosen to nourish our bodies by only consuming juice.
Yes.
Fruit juice, vegetable juice, and after a little internet research last night, some berry juice,
Yes.
which was a very nice treat. So taking out the pulps, taking out the fibers, taking out the stuff that makes you feel tummy full, and going straight into your bloodstream and then right into your cells so your body doesn't have to do the digestive act. And we have committed to I've committed to a 30-day, 30-pound, 30-day or 30-pound, and that is a very big or. I will quit as soon as I possibly can. And so we thought today we would reflect a little bit on the life lessons learned, not particularly from the fast or from the particular diet, but what has been learned by us in these 10 days in going without something we normally have. And so I would like to do the first reflection, if I may.
Sure, go right ahead.
And then I will throw it to you.
Okay,
Sidekick.
I got it.
One of the first things that I've learned on this is that I have to get inside of my head and figure out this whole timeline business. And this is why it's bigger for me than just this food thing.
Okay.
It all has to do with anticipation. Because I know that these days, like I just mentioned, 30 days, or if I can get done sooner, I want to. I realize that in my temperament, in my personality, in my world, this idea of when will it be looms large.
Yeah.
I find myself doing the math all the time. Like just here in the break, I was talking to you. I'm like, hey, we get to eat, and somehow I messed up the math. We get to eat in 11 days. No, 14. no, hang on, it's 17 days. I'm constantly worried about down the road. And then I'm doing these weird measurements. Like if I feel like this right now, will I be able to feel like this for the next 14, 21, 26 days? And I've realized that kind of obsessive calendaring in my mind is really a problem. So that's something that I'm trying to work on in this is this sense of anticipation. Because I'm a future-oriented person, the future is really important to me. I don't think so much about the past or about what's happening now. My energies tend to be a few minutes, a few years, a few lifetimes from now, as opposed to people who are really good at the now or the back there. So I'm having to say that propensity, that doesn't serve me well.
Yeah.
So that's one of my reflections that I've learned. John, what is it that you're learning in this period of going without things that you normally go with?
Yeah, well, I think my first one would be very similar to yours in that just how much energy and thought do I consume around the idea of food. So if I was eating regular solid food, there's no way I would be thinking about what I'm going to have for dinner right now.
Right now. No.
But as I am juicing and have no plans to eat solid food today, it never leaves my presence.
Right.
The thought about what I could be eating or what I will be eating or.
Yeah.
And it happens when you're when you're watching television or you're driving in the car or you're reading a book. Next thing you know, there's a menu that's floating in front of your mind and you're thinking about food and you're like, well, wait a minute, what am I what am I doing?
It is a constant companion, sometimes a dark passenger.
It definitely is. Yeah.
My second learning on this is that smells are almost good enough. And this has been interesting to me. People will often say, like, well, don't go around places where folks are eating, as if somehow I have forgotten that my problem is that I'm not eating. And if I see them eating, I will be like...
You're just going to attack their food?
God, I could have had a V8.
Yeah.
No, hang on a second. I did have a V8. I could have had a salad.
Right.
So, yeah, it's not as if I'm reminded by people when I see them eating. And I've been surprised at how satisfying a smell is.
Yeah.
That approximate sometimes is satisfying. That's been interesting for me because I'm a bit of a purist in my life when it comes to idealism. And smell has always been a counterpart to taste and to the satisfaction of eating. And this last 10 days, I have noticed myself, I was at a dinner with some friends the other night, and they were having some very nice rich soup, which was good because I don't consider it a meal. But they were having some nice soup. So I smelled the soup very deeply, and it was strange how satisfying that was to my neurological experience.
Sure.
Right, like I wasn't full, but I was smelling a full bouquet of flavors, and it said to me, maybe we do this a lot with the crepes and the come on, you got to be kidding me, and then the right on. That maybe the smell is all we have right now until you get that full thing. But that smell can be pretty satisfying.
Yeah. And if you're just listening, Doug and I are doing what's called a juice fast, where we're not eating any meat, and the only fruits and vegetables that we are eating, we are juicing them. So none of the pulp or the meat of the fruits or vegetables we consume.
It's all liquid.
It's all the blood of the fruit and the vegetables. So
liquid life, baby.
One thing that I've become surprised about is in this life approach is just how much I miss having different textures of things in my mouth.
Yeah.
I mean, whether it would be, gritty and thick like peanut butter, or something that is tough, like a piece of meat or whatever. Because really, our mouths are only talking and drinking. Yeah. Now.
Right.
So there's something about chewing and just
spitting occasionally.
Maybe.
Yeah.
There's something about masticating that I really want to do.
Yeah, and one wouldn't have noticed those differences without this period of without this waiting. And it's interesting that we're in a waiting period in a sense. We're doing one thing with our body and waiting to return to another life during this religious season.
Are you really trying to segue this to some sort of Advent
No, I'm just saying
that
there is this. And in that sense of waiting, in that longing, you are missing out what's going to come. Yeah.
Yes.
There's a bigger story in this. Is what I'm getting at. That there's more happening here than just not eating. There's these other life lessons that are coming from this.
Yes.
Don't you think?
I'm sorry. I'm just really trying to filter all kinds of non-radio appropriate things having to do with my mouth right now.
Yeah, okay. So, well, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for protecting the legal license of AM 950, the Progressive Talk of Minnesota. All right, so my third learning on this is how connected I am to rhythms. How many things go together in my world without having thought about that, without having noticed that I have these pairings. If you go to a nice restaurant, sometimes you will ask the sommelier, the wine professional, what wine would you pair with this peppery steak, or what wine would you pair with this pasta salad? And so there's these pairings, and I've realized that I have customized my life like an exceptional sommelier.
Oh, yeah. Is that true?
Yeah, that I have, not with wines, but with other things, times of the day, where I'm going, that I have these certain triggers that cause me to want a particular food experience. Not just what food I'm going to eat. It's not just about the food, but it's a food experience. And I've realized that I have these habits that are triggering all of those desires. So the desires aren't just constant, right? I don't know if you've been experiencing this, but I have definitely been experiencing a changing desire pattern.
Sure.
So sometimes I'm quite satisfied. I don't want anything at all, or a glass of water, or a little bit of tea, or something like that. But then there's other times where it's like, right now, I know that I want to go to Chipotle and I want to get this particular food item because I'm enough of a rhythm eater that some things have triggered. That's what I do at that moment. Yeah. So in fact, Tuesday morning, if somebody could head over to the Patisserie 46, or if you're at the Patisserie right now, just go up and buy that almond croissant and enjoy it for me, because I have missed out on that rhythm. But it's been intriguing to me to notice all the rhythm desires that I have.
Yeah.
And why they come up. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to figure out what generated them in the first place, but the fact that they exist. So that's been an interesting learning for me about myself, to realize, hey, there are some triggers that aren't emotional triggers. I don't think I'm an emotional eater, like, some people have the experience of. I don't think it's that I'm repressing feelings or something. So I don't think I'm dealing with emotional stuff.
Really now?
I think it is.
Let's go deeper.
Yeah, I think it is. I have these habits that go along with the food that I eat.
Dude, you are such an Enneagram 8. It's just not even funny.
All right. Well, what do you got, John? What's your learning?
Well,
and I will try not to disparage it.
Oh, right. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know that was part of the deal.
No, it's not. It's totally fine.
Okay.
What do you have?
All right. So the other thing is too, and I think this, as far as like when people eat because they're anxious or whatever, okay, kind of that whole thing, or when they're bored, being on a juice fast and being in a constant state of not hunger but emptiness, because I mean, if you think about it, I mean, you probably like consume a pound of matter, more than a pound of matter at every meal, and we don't have that sitting in our stomachs giving us that feeling, right? So it's like
I have a food-shaped emptiness.
That's right. So for me, that emptiness and knowing that I can't go to food to kind of solve that. So now I kind of have to deal with this kind of low-grade anxiety that might just be resting there, waiting to be triggered, by hunger or whatever. So
you're coming to grips with the emotional sensitivities that you have.
A little bit. I have to find that I either have to look at myself and go, okay, why am I feeling anxious? I have to do like a little inventory.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or I'm like, well, is there some sort of activity I need to be doing, or some sort of movement that needs to be happening, in order to occupy my brain, so I'm just not sitting there going, I'm anxious and hungry.
You are such an Enneagram 7, because Enneagram 7 goes to anxiety when they're...
That's right. I am. Yeah.
Hey, so maybe you're learning life lessons, folks. Maybe you're going without something and you're reflecting on these life lessons, and maybe they'd be helpful to you. So you're not alone. I've got a timeline issue. I've got things about smells being an approximate. That's been encouraging.
Yeah.
And then this whole thing about rhythm life and rhythm eating. Hey, stick with us here after the break. We have a Cripes and a Come On and a You Gotta Be Kidding Me that I think you're going to want to stick around for. It includes a Baltimore hotel, Costco, and Herman Cain. In fact, that's got a whole storyline in and of itself. So stick with us here after the break on AM 950, the Progressive Talk in Minnesota, and DougPageRadio.com.